I have a problem. And that problem is I want to get into FPV, but I have no idea where to begin. And what the heck is analog? And why is it for old people? I'm just kidding. That was me a few months ago, sitting on YouTube just like you are right now, looking for the best way to get into FPV. How do I get started in FPV? This is the most common question I get asked on a daily basis. And that's exactly what we're going to cover today. Now with FPV, if you're going to start anywhere, in my opinion, an incredible resource for you is going to be the FPV Bible made by Ethics. It has every single term you'll ever hear while flying FPV. So for a beginner, when somebody's referencing things like a VTX, or you want to know the difference between a 1S battery and a 6S battery, this is going to be a great tool to have. And don't worry, I went ahead and put a link in the description down below. Your next step, in my opinion, should be a simulator. A simulator will cost roughly 20 bucks, and a controller will range anywhere between $50 and $100 if you're just trying to get started at the cheapest cost. This is great since it allows you to actually figure out if you want to be in the hobby or not. That way you don't go out wasting $3,000. Luckily, I've already made a video about my favorite FPV simulator, which I'll go ahead and link below, but there's lots of ones out there like Trip, Liftoff, Velocidrone, and DRL Simulator. Again, simulators are a perfect place to start because it's a very affordable upfront cost. And on top of that, trust me when I tell you the mechanics of operating an FPV drone at first are not easy at all. I remember feeling like the controls were completely backwards whenever I'd fly in full acro mode, which kept me in horizontal lock for a few months while I had the DJI FPV. Alright, now let's talk about the next step that I find most important, and that's deciding what type of flying are you most interested in. Amongst the FPV community, I believe there's three main avenues of flying. You have cinematic, which is very slow, smooth, beautiful locations, kind of like an intro to a movie scene type flying. You have freestyle, which is how fast can I fly this thing through the smallest hole and how many flips can I do while I'm going through that hole? And then once I do that, where's the next hole because I want to do it again? Okay, not actually, but sorta. It's a more risky style of flying, which in my opinion rewards a lot of enjoyment and is definitely something that I initially became very attracted to. Now lastly, this may not seem like a category of its own for some people, but let me explain. You have Cinewoop flying. Cinewoop flying can slightly vary, going from tiny drones that you can just have fun with flying around in your house, maybe practicing some freestyle, or just getting used to FPV in general, or they can get a little bit bigger and give you the opportunity to fly for certain jobs like festivals, music videos. The Cinewoop is a drone that has these bumpers or rails on the outside of the propellers, which gives the drone an incredibly safer feel. You can fly these things around people or indoors, and they're significantly quieter because of their size and safer since you don't have these crazy props sticking out ready to slice something up. Typically with a Cinewoop drone, you can kind of get away with being in all three categories, but you'll also be lacking on the full potential of a cinema setup or a freestyle setup. So if you just came from a simulator and you want to experience flying in real life, this might be the best first transition out of the simulator. Now that we've gone over that, let's decide which system you want to fly on, which is going to be analog or digital. What is analog flying? What does it look like and why do people prefer it? Analog flying refers to the type of video transmission system used to transmit live video from the drone's camera to the operator's goggles or monitor. Analog systems use a traditional analog signal, such as an NTSC or PAL signal, to transmit video. These analog systems are typically less expensive and have a lower latency than digital systems, but the video quality is often lower and more susceptible to interference. Now this is where you'll have to weigh out some of the variables of analog over HD. Do you want low latency? Which is typically what I hear people say their reasoning is for using it, but it looks like this. Are you wanting to potentially spend less money? Or would you rather go the digital system route? What is digital flying? What does it look like? And why do people prefer it? HD flying, or digital systems, refers to the resolution of the video transmission system used to transmit live video from the drone's camera to the operator's goggles or monitor. HD, or high definition video, typically has a resolution of 1080p or 720p, which is significantly higher than the standard definition video. This results in a much clearer and more detailed image for the operator, allowing for more precise control of the drone. However, HD video transmission systems are typically more expensive and have a higher latency, which is your delay, than a standard definition system. People typically prefer this because of how high the quality is. As you can see, the difference between analog and digital is night and day different. All in all, my opinion on this stays very simple. I personally went the digital route. I use the DJI HD system, and it's an older version since their new 03 system just came out. I fly some pretty decent freestyle along with some good cinematic flying and have had no issues with feeling like the transmission to my goggles is slower than what actually happens in real life. aka latency. In my opinion, I think you should go with the digital system because our technology is only going forward and analog might get left in the past if in a couple years digital systems can give us zero latency. Alright, now that you understand the three types of flying in FPV and the difference between analog and digital, let's take a quick dive into each category and discuss the cheapest way to get into it, potentially a more expensive way, and some basics of the different options you have when getting into each. Cinewhoops. Cinewhoops would be the next best place to start after gaining all of this knowledge about how to get started in FPV. I personally would go with the BetaFpv Cetus full drone kit, and you can get them directly off of Amazon, and don't worry, I'll put a link below. This specific drone has been said to be the best beginner all-in-one drone kit by so many people, and that's exactly why I bought it when I started. Now, there's three different types of this drone. Pretty much there's a small one, a medium one, and a large one. I have the small one and I pretty much outgrew it within a month, so I would probably get the medium or the large. With the medium one, you'll have an easier time flying indoors, which obviously is really fun to do. Because I'm getting this reference from a recent video I watched from Evasion FPV, which I'll link on screen if you want to check out the difference. The reason I would go with this drone is not only because so many people suggested it or because I personally have it, but because if you're on a budget and you have max $300 to spend, being able to get a goggle, controller, a drone, batteries, and a charger, it's again a great place to start if you don't know for sure if you want to go all in, but you'll at least still get a taste for the true feel of FPV. Now, jumping a little bit further in, let's say you know without a doubt you want to put both feet in and you're okay with spending whatever you need to just get started, but you're thinking you want to stay in the Cinewhoop category. I'd go with something like the Gep RC Cinelog 35. They have a 25 version, which is literally just the size of the drone. It's 3.5 inches versus 2.5 inches. Except with the 35, you have enough drone power to hold a full-size GoPro, which typically a good amount of people have, or in my case, you still have the GoPro 3. If you go with the 25, it's pretty much inevitable that you're gonna have to get a new GoPro and probably strip it down, or you're gonna have to buy a 10 bones. And if you're just looking to get flying as fast as possible, I would go with the 35. And lastly, let's talk about Freestyle and let's combine it with cinematic. Personally, what I chose was the Nazgul F5, which is a full 5-inch FPV drone. After spending weeks watching YouTube videos, the Nazgul showed to be a crowd favorite as I watched so many drone pilots talk about it and how good it was. Now, where you can get slightly more precise with this drone is by choosing what kind of frame you want, an X style frame or a dead cat style frame. It's typically said that the X pattern is made more for freestyle, whereas the dead cat is made more for cinematic flying. That's because the dead cat is made to keep your props out of your video when you're filming with a GoPro. Unlike the X pattern, where in some cases you might catch the props in the shot. I personally chose the X pattern. Reason being, I'm filming on a GoPro Hero 9 where I'm able to film 5K 30, so I wasn't concerned about having some props in my shot and having to zoom in if I needed to. And I wanted that upgraded freestyle aspect just in case I needed that quick reaction. And I knew that I was gonna end up flying freestyle. Oh my god. As you probably know, there's lots of other drones on the market, and my opinion on which one you should buy shouldn't be your last. But if this video at least helps the process by giving you my exact experience going through the same thing you're experiencing, then that's my goal. You may also recognize I didn't cover goggles, controllers, batteries, chargers, and the many different upgrades you can make to these aspects of FPV. If I did, this video would probably be like 3 hours long. So instead, comment down below if you have any questions, and any of the popular questions that can get answered in a video I'll make, and if not, I'll try and do my best to answer all the others. As a quick disclaimer, I'm no expert in this field, so again, this video should not be your end all. Make sure you do your research, make sure you look up other videos, and spend some time understanding the hobby. Also, just as a quick little tip, some of the better places to shop and get your FPV gear from is going to be sites like GetFPV, iFlight, and Rotor Riot, along with Amazon, and it's even probably smart to check your local area to see if there's any hobby shops around. These are not the only places you can get FPV gear from, but these are the places I'd recommend off the bat. Again, I hope this video sort of helps you feel a little bit better about getting into FPV and where to start. And like I said earlier, if you have any questions, comment them down below and I'll do my best to get those answered for you. With that, thank you so much for watching. Hit the freaking like button, hit the freaking subscribe button, and yeah, that's it. Anyways, peace out.